Hey, Bougie Gang, what's going on? Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Hey, guys, what's going on? Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Yes. Okay, good. I was like, it feels like Wednesday. Hopefully, what I'm thinking and feeling are syncing. So yes, it is. It is Wednesday. How's everybody doing? Hey guys, what is going on, everybody? Okay. My bad, y'all. I intended to go live much earlier, but I don't know. I got interrupted and then I was hungry. I was like randomly hungry. And you know how you're hungry but you're not motivated to go get something to eat? So, I was sitting here and I was like, "What's wrong with me?" And I'm like, "I'm hungry. I just want to eat." So I went, made a sandwich, and then Portia and Lambo were all up in my business when I was trying to make a turkey sandwich. And then this was like right when I set up the live almost an hour ago. And then I was trying to eat my sandwich and then I was thinking I need to go ahead and start my dinner cuz I don't feel like I already feeling like I don't want to cook and I have a whole chicken in the refrigerator that I need to do something with, either chop it up, put it in the freezer or make it. So I had the Dutch oven on the stove and I said, let me just go ahead and dump this in the pot with some seasoning, some onions, garlic, and a bay leaf and go live. And that's what I did. So I've got a whole chicken. I'm making chicken soup. I'm just going to bust it down like in about an hour. As soon as I finish this live, I'm going to take the chicken out the pot if it hasn't already fallen off the bones, and I'm just going to take all the meat off of it. And what am I going to do? I'm going to take the bone. I'm going to let it boil for a while, and then I'm going to make soup, and I'm going to try and get most of the bone out of it. So, anywho, I'm making chicken soup, like a spicy. I put a habanero in it. So it should be pretty good. So Farah sometimes will put noodle with it. She'll like, almost like pho broth, which I am not claiming to make pho at all. But it'll be like a nice chicken soup. So anywho, that's what I was doing. So my bad, y'all. I just said, let me just, since I'm in the actual mind space right now that I'm thinking of it, let me just go ahead and do it. Because if I don't, so do I. I like spicy, flavorful, but not like gratuitous, burn your mouth. I don't mind the heat of something that tastes really good if it's got a little like, ooh, that's got a kick to it. Um, type thing. So, anyway, we got some news stories to talk about today, some things to catch up on, and some things. So, yesterday was pretty deep. I don't have any news on Daryl Jones yet. I have not looked, excuse me, Darnell, to see. Allegedly, he was supposed to go to court in Columbus, and it may have already happened, and I just haven't seen it. So, my bad if I'm not up on that yet, guys. I will do a search in a little bit. But there was something happening yesterday. So yesterday there was a hearing, um, and I'm gonna show you that. But let me show you this. This was, girl, we never. It's like I don't know where to start. Someone messaged me this today and I was like, we did talk about this, but I didn't get a chance to bring this to you. So let's talk about this first. So we did talk about the beautiful lady who, is it Stephanie Brinson, the woman who was killed on the conjugal visit with her husband. And I told you that there was a second person who had a similar situation. So lo and behold, there was a news story today talking about it, and a family member um, did come forward because this had happened to her not too long before. So last week I did get the indictment, and so I will show you guys the indictment. But prior to what happened with David Brinson, baby, the whole same thing had already happened to another person. So pretty crazy. Let me share am I sharing my screen yet? Not yet. Okay. So this is pretty troubling. I mean, I think that this news is coming out because somebody out here needs to hear it. Okay. Someone out here, maybe not Bougie Gang, but there's somebody out here that needs some awareness. And you might be the person to provide it to them by sharing this story, sharing it on your Facebook, sharing this live. Because you just never know. A lot of these women seem to have been operating in secrecy from their families and not telling what they were up to, who they were talking to, like what was actually going on. And I mean, and then they're planning a funeral, right? So the caption down here says a second woman was killed at Mule Creek State Prison. But I told you guys about this last week that there was a second story. A second woman was killed at Mule Creek State Prison. This is the same prison where Scott Peterson is located. And you know who Scott Peterson was. He had the wife Lacey back in the day, and Lacey disappeared right before she was to give birth to their child. And turned out Scott was fooling around. He had a lady, he had a side chick. Okay. There was someone out there not keeping their legs closed to a married man, and a whole wife expecting a baby disappeared. And sir had the death penalty, and he's now just has a life sentence, no parole. But Scott Peterson is at this place called Mule Creek State Prison. Anyway, a second woman was killed at Mule Creek State Prison in Ione last year during a conjugal visit with her husband. Officials say KCRA 3 investigates first reported that the November death of Stephanie Dowells Brinson, 62, during a visit at the prison with David Brinson was determined a homicide. The Amador County coroner said Dowells was strangled. Now we are learning that another woman was slain during a visit with her husband at the same prison a few months before that. Guys, and his name is Anthony Curry. Okay. And I've got the complaint, and I will read that to you after we look at this report. Okay. Sis got the receipts. Okay.
Exclusive investigation. We reported first last week the November death of a woman at Mule Creek State Prison during a conjugal visit with her husband was ruled a homicide. And now we're learning another woman was also murdered during a visit with her husband at the same prison a few months before that. Both deadly incidents taking place at the Mule Creek State Prison in Ione. Let
me tell you, they got some heavy hitters over there at the Mule Creek State Prison. Don't let the name fool you. They got some heavy hitters out there. They got some real stone cold bad guys. Okay. I don't know who in their right mind would deal with anybody there, because these are people who don't do what they do once. They just do it. Okay. And some of these people who are lifers, baby, this is nobody to start writing to. This is no one to be pen pals. This is nobody to think that you're going to, don't pray with them. You know what I'm saying? What I heard was that Stephanie, Miss Brinson, met David through some sort of like prayer partner situation, and I'm sure she meant well, and she seemed to be such a sweet, beautiful spirit. When we'll run past her Facebook page, stunning. Okay, just a light shining through, right? Happy go lucky, free spirit type, right? um she didn't deserve what she got, but I think maybe she thought that she was making some headway, but there's many people that hide in sheep's clothing, right? So she was, I think that she was on some prayer partner, and I think that he's crazy. He's absolutely nuts. um if we have time, I do have a law. He's suing the California Department of Corrections, Mr. Brinson, because some of his things were taken after he was sent to the psychiatric unit, trying to unalive himself, and all of his things were taken. Now he's suing the California Department of Corrections. So we'll circle back to him. If we don't have time today, we'll do it another day, because he's pro se and freestyling in this paperwork, and it's a little bit of a key, even though it's very serious, but the writings of someone who is off their rocker. Okay. So let's get back to what happened over here with Anthony Curry. Anthony Curry is another bad guy. He's been in prison for a long time, since about 1999. The reason why he's incarcerated is also because of another unaliving situation, of his 19-year-old girlfriend. So they're going to tell you about it, but this is not a good guy at all, and definitely should not have had the opportunity to have a wife, much less the opportunity to be alone and to do what he had already been accused of. Fortunately, the 19-year-old that he tried to unalive made it, but has sustained some lifelong injuries due to his attack. So this is this guy, Anthony Curry. So let's hear about this.
Her husband at the same prison a few months before that. Both deadly incidents taking place at the Mule Creek State Prison in Ione. That's in Amador County. KCRA3 investigates Lizzie Mitri spoke exclusively with that woman's family.
Curtis, this family saw our investigation last week after the murder of 62-year-old Stephanie Dowles, and they said they felt compelled to come forward with their story.
We were born and raised in San Francisco. We were raised by our grandparents. And this is just a little collage of her life.
Janine Rojo and her cousin weren't just close in age.
We've literally been together since birth.
They did everything together until July 1st, when everything changed.
It's just tragic what happened.
Her cousin, a single mother of one, died.
Tania, Vanessa, Corpuz, Thomas, she was 47 years old.
She says Thomas spent more than half her life battling lupus, but the family learned the disease is not what killed her.
For her to be taken away this way, it's gut-wrenching.
The Amador County District Attorney tells KCRA3 investigates Thomas's husband, 48-year-old Anthony Curry, is charged with her murder.
Oh, it hit my gut.
He's accused of strangling Thomas during a conjugal visit at Mule Creek State Prison. Court records show Curry was already serving time in prison for a conviction of attempted murder following the 1999 shooting of his 19-year-old girlfriend at the time.
He shot a girl in the head and dumped her body, so he left her body for dead.
She was found at a remote truck stop in Richmond, barely alive. A gunshot wound to the head left her permanently blind and partially paralyzed.
He's a violent person.
Rojo says she had no idea her cousin even had conjugal visits with him.
With that history of severe violence, why are they being allowed to have these visits? Unsupervised.
It's something she kept to herself until she saw the story on the November death of 62-year-old Stephanie Dowles.
4 months after a woman died while visiting an inmate at Mule Creek State Prison, we've learned her death is now deemed a homicide.
Another woman killed at Mule Creek State Prison during a conjugal visit with her husband, a 4-time convicted murderer.
I was sick to my stomach and I was in tears.
She could no longer stay silent.
I'm not against conjugal visits. However, there's already 2 murders.
I am. I'm against it.
what can be done to prevent this from happening again? Maybe put more prison guards out to do more safety checks, to anything to save another life.
The CDCR website shows inmates can't have conjugal visits if they're on death row, convicted of sex offenses if they're going through the reception process upon arrival to a prison, or if they have disciplinary restrictions. But there is no mention of violent crime convictions. CDCR says inmates have to apply and meet strict criteria to earn the privilege of family visits. And they say these visits are meant to support family connection and rehabilitation.
Okay, so a lot of people would say one murder is too many, two murders way too many. What security measures are in place to protect people who are there visiting?
Right, we had to go through their manual to see what do they do, how do they make sure people are safe. What we could find is inmates have to present themselves for a count at least 4 times in 24 hours, and the prison can order unscheduled inspections, but otherwise the manual really highlights that they try to ensure the inmate's privacy.
But we know about a second case because the family came forward. How many other cases are there that we don't know about?
Right. And we have asked the corrections department, and they responded to our inquiry, answering everything except for that question. So we followed up, and we are hoping to hear back from them soon.
All right, Lizzie, thank you. And while the November death was ruled a homicide, Stephanie Dow's husband has not been charged with murder. The prison says it is still investigating.
So he has not been charged yet with a murder. Stephanie Dow, David Brinson. Okay. But this guy, Anthony Curry, has. Okay. Anthony Curry has been charged. He was charged this year with the murder of Tania Vanessa Thomas. So, and this happened July 1st. So it's taken a minute, because if you see the stamp on here, this was in 25. What was the date on this? I'd have to go back and look at the docket. But he was charged. So it's been like, let's just say it was 6 months for him to be charged. So from July 1st into like January, it could have even been February 1st. So looking like 6-7 months for him to be charged. But the district attorney of Amador County states on information and belief that at and within the county of Amador, state of California, defendant Anthony Curry did commit the following: crime, murder, a felony, on or about July 1st, 2024, in the county of Amador, state of California, crime of murder violation, a felony was committed in that Anthony Curry did unlawfully and with malice aforethought murder Tania Vanessa Thomas, a human being. The above offense is serious felony within the meaning of the Penal Code section, and violent felony within the meaning of Penal Code section 667.5. And they gave us enhancement, special allegation. Okay, 2 of 3 strikes. So 2 priors. Oh, so he'll be 3 strikes, he's out. So I don't know if he was like, I think he was life. Is he life without the bus? So they're going with, so he's got 2 to 3 strikes right now. And you know, California is 3 strikes, you're out, right? So you're life. It is further alleged pursuant to Penal Code 1170 through as to count 1 that said defendant Anthony Curry has suffered the following prior convictions of a serious and violent felony or juvenile adjudication. When was this stamped? Girl, this was stamped March. This is the stamping of my report that I requested. That's the 19th. That's when I got this. Okay. Let's see. So these are his 2 prior convictions. So yeah, they're going for 3 strikes, you're out on him. Conviction of a felony prohibits that you owning, purchasing, receiving, possessing, or having the custody of a controlled firearms, ammunition feeding devices, including and not limited to magazines. Allegation of circumstances. It is further alleged pursuant to California Penal Code 1170B2 as of the above felony offenses and allegations, the following circumstances in aggravation as defined in California Rules of Court 4.421 apply and justify the imposition of the upper term of imprisonment. Factors relating to the crime. The crime involved great violence, bodily harm, threat of great bodily harm, or acts disclosing a high degree of cruelty, viciousness, and callousness. A defendant was armed or used a weapon at the time of the commission of the crime. The victim was particularly vulnerable. Isn't that awful? She was there for a weekend family visit to enjoy some time with this guy, and look what he did. The defendant induced others to participate or commission of a crime or occupied a position of leadership, dominance, or other participants in its commission. The defendant induced a minor so these are stipulations that would have to be included for the allegations of circumstances in 1170B. So this is A. Do they have B? Okay, so they're giving the stipulations here. So 1170B2, factors relating to the crime. So any of these 12 factors, I'm not going to read them all. They're not necessarily exclusive to this particular situation, but they would include one or more of these stipulations to get what they are, the punishment that they're looking for. So the discovery, then there's this discovery request. So it's not fully it's not giving a whole entire narrative of exactly kind of what they think happened. So maybe that would be included in something else. But yeah, he is being charged with felony murder. They are looking at a 3 strikes you're out on him. It says 25 to life. He's already in Mule Creek, so I don't think he's going anywhere. This is just going to add to what he already has, just further solidify he's not getting out. And deservedly so, because it's absolutely nuts. This is beginning to be a just kind of like a unfortunate something that we just have to get, that we're starting to have to get used to on more of a continual basis. It's just awful. Okay, so yesterday I think I told you guys I was looking at a hearing. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick over here, because this will be easier for us to look at this. This is someone who I know you guys are just gonna like. She's on the list of horrible moms. Okay. 1 second. Let me share this screen. Okay, so yesterday, let me take myself off the screen because I'm already in here. Okay, so yesterday, in Pontiac, Michigan, Kelli Bryant, she is the one with the felony child abuse charges. She was also charged for 3 counts of welfare fraud. This was supposed to be her probable cause hearing today. Yesterday. And let me just let you guys hear what happened. She was supposed to have this probable cause hearing, and let's hear how it turned out. So we're over here at Judge Walker's courtroom in Pontiac, Michigan, and let's hear how it went. Oh, and this is Kelli Bryant. Oh, you guys know who Kelli is. Hold on. You guys know who Kelli is, right? That's Kelli. Kelli is the one with the nasty townhouse. She left her kids for 5 years to fend for themselves. And ma'am has been in the Oakland County jail since. She left her kids. She left 1 boy, 2 girls, and she is being held to account. And the county of Oakland is not playing with her. She has a $50,000 cash bond. And at this moment, we're going to hear something about, she had a $14,000 cash bond. And they're going to talk about that during this hearing also. So I'm going to let you guys hear that. But this is Kelli Marie Bryant. And she could stand to be in prison for life as well. If she's convicted of her crimes, she could get up to life in prison. Okay, let's go back.
Calling People versus Kelli Marie Bryant. The case number is 250310FY.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Erica Smith appearing on behalf of the people. No objection to having this hearing held via Zoom.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. Cecilia Carandongo appearing on behalf and with Kelli Bryant. She's present via Zoom from the Oakland County Jail. We have no objection to Zoom, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant, would you state your name for the record, please?
Kelli Bryant.
Thank you. This is the time and date set for a probable cause conference on the charged counts, 4 counts of welfare fraud. How did you want to proceed, Ms. Carandongo?
Your Honor, I did receive, I want to say about 600 pages of discovery from Ms. Smith. I'm asking, we have Ms. Bryant's other matter scheduled for an adjourned PCC on 4/15. I'm asking that this be set over to that date for another probable cause conference as well. Ms. Bryant is going to waive her right to have the exam within 21 days.
Oh, I'll note the waiver of the 21 days. Is that date good for people as well, Ms. Smith?
It is. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So given that the 21 days is waived, we will set a second probable cause conference on this case for April 15th. Ms. Carandongo, is the other case set at 1:30 or later, to your knowledge?
2 p.m. is what I have in my calendar.
Yes, that's correct.
It's at what time?
2 p.m.
2 p.m.
I'll set this one at 2 p.m. as well. Esteban?
Your Honor, in regards to bond, so Ms. Bryant was arraigned not by Your Honor. She was given a $14,000 and change cash bond to be posted in her name only. I do believe that that's actually an illegal bond. Ms. Bryant, pursuant to MCR 6.106, it would be the subsection C, but she doesn't qualify for a monetary bond under subsection B at all. It's not a murder or treason case, and it's not a violent offense, which then defaults down to subsection C, which talks about the court must give a personal recognizance bond with conditions if it doesn't meet any of the conditions in subsection B. And so I believe that there was an abuse in discretion when the court set her bond the way they did. And I'm asking this court to grant a personal recognizance bond on this case with conditions. The court is aware, had already on her other case, there is a $50,000 cash bond, cash only bond. She's still in the Oakland County Jail, but I believe on this case, she's entitled to a personal recognizance bond by statute. So that's what I'm asking for. She was not on release status. She has no prior criminal history. There was nothing else outstanding when this case came in, so she's not ineligible for personal bond under those circumstances either. So I'm asking the court to grant that.
Just to clarify before I hear from people, as to the bond matter, the standard is not abuse of discretion for review of the bond. It's whether in a particularized review of the case, the court determines that would be appropriate. But Ms. Smith.
Your Honor, if the court's inclined to grant a personal bond, I would just ask that it be in the amount of about $29,000 because that's the amount of overissuance that Ms. Bryant was given for benefits in this case that were given to her children that did not live in her household.
Okay. This is a financial issue, and what Ms. Carandongo says regarding the setting of a bond in this case, the court will consider. Because this is not a violent offense, there is no indication that there's a need for custody as a result of this case. And I will note, I do have the report from pretrial services recommending release with conditions, understanding that she'll still be held on the other case. But on this case, I will modify the bond to a $29,397 personal bond with conditions. Ms. Bryant may not possess a weapon of any sort. There's to be no assaultive conduct at all while this case is pending. So we do have a probable cause conference set for April 15th at 2 p.m. That'll be on Zoom.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Your Honor.
Okay, so what happened here is that the probable cause hearing was postponed. Okay, so I think on April 15th, They will do the child abuse case and the welfare fraud. So that should be a pretty interesting hearing. So I've got it on my calendar. And we will be live, more than likely. Hopefully everything goes according to what they say is going to happen on the 15th, and there's no other delays by Miss Kirangango. And then we should have a pretty substantial hearing, and they're going to present the information regarding the probable cause. She still has a 50K cash, yes, and it'll be the 29K personal, but she's not getting out. The 50K is 50K. It's not even with a bondsman. It's a 50K cash. And she's also not able to contact the caregivers of her children, which the caregivers are the people who, the caregivers, as far as what I'm hearing, is that it's her parents. So she's unable to contact where the children are located. So unless she, and you know that third party rule too, I don't think she's allowed to contact any of those people. So she's stuck. She's on her own, and that's it. That's all. I don't know if what other resources she has available to her, but she has been banned. You know, she had a week's banned. So if you guys go back to last week she was given a reprimand and a week banned from the telephone because she contacted the people where her children are currently in custody, in domicile. They're in care with family, and she is not to contact the children or the caregivers, and I believe the caregivers are this woman's parents. So I would imagine she's probably limited on resources. How did the grandparents not know what was going on? Some elaborate lie that maybe the kids were with the father, some BS, and I guess something believable to the state for them to go ahead and let the children, and maybe because the children were so impacted, I'm gonna just use that word because I don't have another one. Maybe because the impact was so great, and if they had any familiarity at all, they made a decision. I mean, I'm assuming maybe some familiarity was better than none. Also, just I don't know, the risk of some of these, some of the foster situations. Maybe they didn't have a situation that could keep all three kids together. I could only imagine that this is a high stress, highly visible, because the powers that be are, I'm sure, checking in. They're checking Kelly's phone. They're making sure that these kids are okay. Maybe their story was believable enough. I mean, it was giving kind of a Casey Anthony type thing, where Casey was telling them that Kaylee was with the nanny, and she was here and she was there, but that only lasted for like a month, 45 days, and that child was deceased. And we don't know if there's more to the story, but one of those lie type scenarios where the adult child is giving the family lies. So we don't really know, unfortunately, but it is weird that your kid is coming around, and like, where's the kid? Where's the grandkid, right? Where are the grandchildren? Where are they? So for years and years and years, right? So I believe that that's a valid question. I don't know what the vetting process was, but she wasn't able to call. The judge reprimanded Kelly and the lawyer, and warned that if it happened again, the repercussions would be severe. Fast forward to this particular situation, the probable cause, it got delayed. So everything is supposed to happen on 4/15. The probable cause, I don't see why it's not going to be bound over. I mean, there's no reason. She was getting benefits, and she didn't have care. She had custody of her kids, but her kids were in neglect. She was not properly caring for her children, and in the way that social services is paying, or health and human services are paying for you to feed and care for your children. So I'm sure it will be bound over. And then the abuse charges are going to have the probable cause hearing too. So 4:15, I've got it on our calendar, so no worries about that. Okay. Y'all, look who else had court today, baby. And she's back with her eyeliner. Okay. Let me just say hi to everybody coming in. Take a minute for me and hit the thumbs up. We are getting caught up on some of this mommy news over here. Baby, a mess. Okay. Last time we saw this woman, she's got some very serious charges too. Don't let the makeup job fool you. Ma'am is a complete wreck. She's a wreck and a mess. And ma'am walked into court like her shit did not stink. I don't know what her lawyer has been telling her, but baby, I was like, oh, okay, ma'am. Ma'am walked in like, baby, she was damn starring in something. Okay. I was like, no, you did not. Okay. So Kimberly Sullivan, we know who she is. She's another one. Kimberly's a evil stepmom. She had her son, well, her stepson, excuse me, captive in a bedroom for 20 years. His father passed away. She kept him in captivity in this room until he set his room on fire. And thank God the police department of Waterbury, Connecticut were able to come and rescue him because sis was not letting him out no time soon. Sir was 68 pounds, 5'9", and ma'am is in a lot of trouble. Okay, ma'am's in a lot of trouble, and this is Kimberly Sullivan. So let's get into it. Ma'am is a complete mess. Okay, check her out in court. See how she walks in? Baby, look at her. Look, baby, where is she going with that little walk? And her top. Look at this little top she has on, her necklace.
The state gave
Girl, she made up her whole face, okay?
notice to attorney.
Look at her lawyer. Sir got on somewhat of a tight girl sachet.
Florida's today that it plans on filing a motion to modify the conditions of release or request the court to do so. I believe Attorney Cloydis would like Friday to respond to that.
Yes, Your Honor. The state has advised.
Look at the I have to interrupt. The messy cameraman, okay? And the cameraman's getting ready to be real messy.
To modify the conditions of release or request the court to do so. I believe Attorney Cloydis would like Friday to respond to that.
Yes, Your Honor. The state has advised of their intention to file such a motion. I am asking for Friday so that we have time to prepare and respond to it.
Under the practice book, we do have 2 days notice. So I'll see everyone back here on Friday.
Would the court wish to have us enter a night?
Are they purposefully trying to focus in? See, I can't even. This is a serious news story, guys. Okay, stop playing. This is the good news is that the son survived. He's doing okay. He's on the road to recovery. I'm sure he's not gonna, you know what I'm saying? He has a long road ahead of him. So obviously we wish him the best, and I'm sure he knows we don't have to tell him that his stepmother is a whole clown. But this is, it's obviously not a funny situation, but this woman is a complete nut job. Okay. She's a nut job. And just by the grace of God, he's made it. And definitely wishing him the best and a speedy recovery, and hopefully can put this whole situation behind him. But baby, sis is a piece of work.
At this time, would you prefer to do that on Friday?
Why don't we wait till Friday?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so court is basically like over. Let's just. So they have court again. Look at the judge.
Why don't we wait till Friday?
Thank you, Your Honor.
So court is Friday. What's Friday's date? Let me see. Friday is the 28th. Okay, we got court Friday, guys. Hold on.
Did the court wish to have us enter a not guilty plea at this time? Would you prefer we do that on Friday?
Why don't we wait till Friday?
Perfect. Thank you, Your Honor.
And we'll recess till 10:30.
All rise for this recess.
As advised, that there
I'm going to need to check the docket, but they say Friday. So Kimberly, I'm not sure what they're just entering a plea. I'll check the docket and see what's going on. If it's something I can get to, then you guys will be there with me. You know, if I'm there, you're there, right? She did post a bond. She's out and about. But you know, her husband passed away, so she might have a cute coin in the bank because she had that raggedy house, which looks like it needs to be torn down. And the husband passed away, so it's quite possible she has a little coin tucked away somewhere. He probably left her a coin because he's probably like, you're gonna need it. You know what I'm saying? They were up to the shits. They had that boy locked upstairs in that damn room. And he probably knew that one day she was going to need some bail money because he was checking out. He checked out last year. So she probably got a couple of coins and had to spend it to get herself out of jail because you can't keep a whole person locked up. I mean, the fact that they had him in captivity as long as they did is shocking. Okay. So thank God for him. And that he had he still had the will and the fight in him to want to be free and thought of something to get himself up out of there. But yeah, she's going to need all that coin her husband left her from his passing to get herself out of this trouble. And I don't know if anything's going to help her. Girl, he's a grown man now. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's moving on. Okay. Girl, let me check my list. Oh, we did not read the narrative. I'll read you guys some of it. I pulled this up. I've had this out, but we didn't read it initially. So this was her arrest warrant. So if you're wanting to know kind of what happened, this was the arrest warrant. I don't know if we're gonna get through this whole thing. It's gonna take a little minute. But we'll get the gist of it. Detective Stephen Bronwell is a regular member of the Waterbury Police Department, having over 20 years of police training and experience. The affiant is currently assigned to the Criminal Investigation Bureau and has conducted investigations resulting in both the arrest and conviction of those persons involved. The following facts and circumstances are stated from personal knowledge and observations, as well as information received from police officers acting in their official capacity and from official police reports and statements, prudent and credible witnesses. That in the following affidavit is the victim of domestic violence whose identity will be omitted. The victim shall be referenced as male victim 1, so MV1, along with his identity, his address, and location where he is being treated shall be omitted as well. On February 17th, 2025, at approximately 20:42 hours, the Waterbury Police Department received a complaint. Do you guys want me to have the girl so you know who we're talking about? We're talking about this lady's case right here, okay? This case, okay? On February 17th, 2025, at approximately 20:42 hours, the Waterbury Police Department received a complaint for an active fire in Waterbury, Connecticut by Kimberly Sullivan, DOB. Girl, do you see her age? Baby, they need to stop playing with us, okay? Hold on. Baby, they say her age is 3/22/68. Wow, happy birthday, ma'am. Ma'am just had a birthday. Girl, 1968. Can you believe it? She's around the same age as Sonia, okay? filed by Kimberly Sullivan 3/22/68. Officers Martina and Inzitari were dispatched to the scene, as well as the Waterbury Fire Department. Upon arrival, WFD was already on the scene and began working on the active structure fire. Officers in Zatari observed that the WFD made entry into the residence and removed a party later identified as MV1, date of birth 3793, who was immediately brought to AMR ambulance and medical treatment. Officer in Zatari reported that MV1's stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, was standing outside and was uninjured. WFD worked the fire and were able to extinguish the fire, which appeared to be mostly contained to the second floor. Multiple rooms on the second floor had heavy fire, smoke, and water damage from the incident. Other areas of the house sustained smoke and water damage from the incident. That Officer Inzitari checked MV1 in the ambulance where he was being treated for smoke inhalation. Upon viewing MV1, Officer Inzitari observed that MV1 was extremely emaciated. His hair was matted and unkempt. He was very dirty. His teeth appeared to all be rotten. MV1 was conscious and alert, although he was having difficulty speaking due to smoke inhalation. MV1 reported to Officer Inzitari that he initially started the fire in his room on the second floor using a lighter, hand sanitizer, paper, because he wanted his freedom. He stated that he had been locked in the house his entire life. MV1 stated that he had been held captive at the residence since he was approximately 11 years old. MV1 specifically mentioned that his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, keeps him locked inside his bedroom as there is a lock on the outside of his bedroom door. MV1 was transported to St. Mary's Hospital for treatment before being transferred to the facility name omitted. As the condition worsened, he was listed as being in critical condition due to smoke inhalation. That Detective Pesci was contacted to respond to the fire scene, as he is the police fire investigator for the city. Upon arrival, Detective Pesci was updated by the on-scene officers of MV1's condition related to the fire and his general appearance. Detective Pesci was introduced himself and spoke briefly to Kimberly Sullivan, who was on the scene in a vehicle with her daughter and daughter's boyfriend. Sullivan reported. Now, let me tell you something. I'm gonna have to break in right here. So the daughter, because she's got a set of twins, and these twins are biologically related to the young man, right? Because their father is his father. Did that man, so now you're saying the daughter and the daughter's boyfriend, so now we have an outsider. Did he know? That's what I want to know. When this trial happens, I want to know how the twins were able to reconcile. And I get it that their mom's fucking crazy, but when the boyfriend realized that there was a whole human upstairs locked up, did he ever know what was going on? And are you still the boyfriend of this nut job's daughter? And I mean, I'm going to say it's her fault too, because I mean, they know their brother has been locked in the room his whole life. This crazy to me. Okay. All right, let me get back to this. Detective Pesci introduced himself and spoke briefly with Kimberly Sullivan, who was on the scene in a vehicle with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. Her daughter was probably like, "Oh shit, mom, you getting ready to go to jail." Sullivan reported to Detective Pesci that she did not know what happened and that she woke up to smoke and went to MV1's room. Sullivan stated that she went to MV1's room and saw a large amount of fire in the doorway. Sullivan stated that MV1 was saying something about a TV and that she was screaming at him to get out of the room. Sullivan stated that she guessed he ran through the fire because he did end up outside of the room. Detective Pesci asked if MV1 was diagnosed with any mental conditions, and Kimberly stated that he has a lot of problems but isn't diagnosed with any conditions, as MV1's father was against using doctors. Sullivan stated that she has brought MV1 to a psychiatrist a few times, as MV1 was mentioned hurting himself in the past. Detective Pesci asked Sullivan if MV1 was locked inside the room, and she stated that his door is not locked and that he had free reign of the house. That while the WFD were still actively on the scene dealing with the fire, WFD Inspector Sevilla and Detective Pesci did a cursory walkthrough of address omitted in Waterbury and ascertained the origin of the cause of the fire. WFD Inspector Sevilla located a burn pattern on the floor on the second floor bedroom consistent with the fire being set to the location as to where various burnt up papers, burnt debris. This location is consistent with the room that is described as MV1's room on the second floor. That while fighting the fire, members of WFD had moved items around the second floor bedroom. WFD uses the term overhaul and removed the door to the room. Pesci observed that there is a slide lock on the outside of the door frame, which could be used to secure the door closed from the outside of the room. Furthermore, removed door from the room as a latch that appears to match up with the location of the slide lock. But during an early part of the investigation, Detective Pesci reached out to Kimberly Sullivan in an effort to further interview her in relation to the fire and MV1. Kimberly refused to meet the detective with Detective Pesci and stated that she had spoken with an attorney and she will not be speaking to the police. Okay. That once MV1 had recovered to the point where he could speak with investigators, 2 interviews were conducted by detectives. The first interview on 2/21/25 by Detective J. Pesci, and second was conducted by Detective S. Brownell on 3/6/25. Both interviews were conducted at the medical facility where MV1 is recovering. Each interview was audio and video recorded utilizing Waterbury Police Department body-worn camera. In the 3 hours that MV1 was interviewed, he provided detail of the evolution of his life over the past 20 years that amounted to a life of captivity, abuse, and starvation. That MV was asked what his earliest memories were of being locked in his bedroom and stated that his earliest memories started at the age of 3. The family was living at address omitted. At the time, he recalled being hungry which led him to sneak out of his room at night and get food and fluids to drink. He stated that when the wrappings of the food he ate were eventually discovered, he began to be locked in his room. He stated that at the time he stated that at that time it was only during the evening hours. He recalled drinking water from the toilet at the time due to the fact that he was only getting about 2 cups of water per day. MV1 then recalled how the family had moved to address omitted before preschool. MV1 stated that when he was in 4th grade, he was permanently pulled out of school due to the fact that the school he was attending contacted the Department of Children and Family Services, DCF. So remember, and I'll bubble up the video, but we watched a video of the man who was one of his principals and the teachers who talked about their interaction with him, which is very similar to what we're reading right now, right? The principal said he went downstairs to a bathroom and heard the toilet flushing, went to go, you know how the teachers will go and check who's in the bathroom and what's going on, and caught him on more than one occasion drinking out of toilets and urinals. MV1 stated that when he was in the 4th grade, he was permanently pulled out of school due to the fact the school he was attending contacted DCF based on what he was doing at school. MV1 stated that by the time in his life he was always hungry. By that time in his life, he was always hungry. So when he was at school, he would ask others for their food, steal others' food, and sometimes eat food out of the garbage. This resulted in DCF responding to the home on 2 occasions. When they were there, he was told by Sullivan to tell them that everything was fine. After the second DCF visit, he was pulled from school by Sullivan. MV1 stated that he was provided worksheets for a short period of time, but the skill level never advanced and no one was teaching him anything. MV1 stated that he always had a lock on the outside of his door. It evolved from a chain lock to a padlock and eventually a slide bolt lock. Not only did he demonstrate to the detective how it operated, but the lock was also observed from photos obtained from search and seizure warrants executed at the residence. MV1 added that when he first moved to the address, he was in an actual bedroom locked in, but was moved to a smaller room. This area was observed during the execution of the search warrant and can be described as a back storage space on the 2nd floor of the residence. MV1 stated that he was only there for a short period of time, eventually being moved to the smaller room. This is where he has been since the age of 12. This space that MV1 was locked in was a back storage space that measured approximately 8 feet by 9 feet. The space also was angled ceilings, making the space, okay. So the space also had angled ceilings, which make the space much smaller. Speaking with the doctor's name omitted to protect location of MV1, she stated that MV1 stated during conversations that space had no heat and in the winter, no air conditioning in the summer. MV1 stated that once he was pulled from school, his weekly routine and captivity became brutally consistent for the rest of his life. MV1 stated that he would typically go to sleep around 7:30 p.m. depending on what season it was. He stated that he would wake up around 3 or 4:30 a.m. and would be awake for the rest of the day and night, noting that he did not sleep well. He was let out from his room for a limited time in the morning around 8 a.m. He stated that he was tasked to complete several chores in the house, which may take him between 15 minutes to 2 hours, depending on what he had to do. From there, typically late in the morning, he was brought back to his room where he was locked there for the remainder of the day through the overnight hours until it was time to get out and do chores again the following day. When asked how often this routine was, he stated nearly every day. MV1 stated that on occasion he was let out in the early evening hours briefly. MV1 stated that there were times when he would be locked in his room for a whole day, at the time equating 24 straight hours. MV1 added that on the weekends, he would be let out of his room for longer periods of time by his father. MV1 stated that while Sullivan took his 2 sisters to events and see friends, his father would allow him to come out and watch TV with him. MV1 stated that there were also times when his father would let him go outside with him to work in the yard. MV1 added that the last time he left the property was when he was approximately 14 or 15 years old, stating that he went with his father to dump yard waste. When discussing his father dying, he stated that his captivity and restraint got even worse. MV1 stated that it got to the point where the only time he would ever be out of the house once his father died was to let the family dog out in the back of the property, stating that it was only about 1 minute a day. Essentially, MV1 was locked in the room from 22 to 24 hours a day. MV1 stated that he was provided up to 2 sandwiches a day. They were typically deli meats, peanut butter, and occasionally tuna or egg salad. MV1 described his food becoming less and less over time. Asked when asked if he was hungry every day, he stated, all day, every day, my entire life. Along with limited food supply, he stated that he had the equivalent of about 2 small bottles of water per day. MV1 pointed to water bottles that were on the table during the interview. When detective asked MV1, I lost my place. When detectives asked MV1 why he never spoke to anyone about his experience, he stated that he wanted to, but there was a constant threat of longer lockdowns and further diminishment of food. MV1 described a life of being mentally conditioned by Sullivan. He stated that the threats was that he would not see the light of day, and he was told, and if told and if he told anyone, and knowing that he had little time out of his room, to the point it was not something he could risk. MV1 was stated that he once discovered a gun while cleaning. This added to his fears of being hurt. It was unclear when MV1's life he it's unclear when in MV1's life he discovered the gun. He discussed how much of a normal day consisted of him counting cars as he looked out of the window. MV1 stated that he thought of breaking the window, later learning that there was a storm window that could not be removed. But MV1 stated that under pain of death, no one was to see him. This was what Sullivan would say to MV1. MV1 stated that throughout the years, Sullivan would constantly lead him to believe that she was going to start to unlock his door and let him out more, but she needed to see if she could trust him. MV1 stated that the room being unlocked never happened. MV1 described the evolution of his bathroom use. When he was young child, he was only being locked in the room during the overnight hours, and a training potty chair was left in his room to use. Once he reached his teenage years, he then into his adult years, he was forced to use bottles and newspaper to dispose of his waste. MV1 described how after he urinated into bottles, he would have a funnel. He would then funnel it into a tube he created with a series of straws, and then guided those straws through a hole in the window to empty it. Can you imagine all those years and then the urine wasting outside? Like, didn't that leave a smell outside? MV1 continued to describe how he defecated. He stated that he placed newspaper on the ground and squatted over it to relieve himself. He would then roll up the paper, tie it to a string, and unravel it to an old t-shirt, and then eventually bring it to the kitchen garbage when he was let out of his room to do chores, knowing that when MV1 was tended to in the ambulance after the fire, the officers and EMT recognized that not only was he emaciated, but there was clearly an issue with his hygiene. MV1 remembered telling the officers that he had not bathed in a year or two. He asked about his bathing habits. MV1 stated that when he was still in school, he would get bathed every other night, but once pulled from school, MV1 stated that bathing would become less and less and less, which ultimately led him to having to attempt to clean himself in his room. MV1 explained that along with the bottle of water he filled each day for his fluids, he kept one other bottle in his room. He stated that each day he would save a portion of his drinking water into this water bottle. Once the bottle was full, he stated that he would do what he could with the amount of water to bathe himself, adding that he was not provided any kind of soap. He also had some men's cologne in his room. Oh my God, this is heartbreaking. And when it came to haircuts, he stated that Mrs. Sullivan would cut his hair. Body worn camera shows MV1 had long, thick, matted hair. He stated that up to that point, he had not had a haircut in 3 years. Besides the occasional television viewing with his father on the weekends, MV1 stated that there was no other television viewing. He did not have one in his room. MV1 recalled a time where he briefly, 3 months and 15 years ago, had a small black and white television, but it became unusable due to the advancement of technology. MV1 stated that his only real connection with the outside world was a radio that was kept outside of his bedroom. He described listening to local radio stations such as WZBG, WATR, and WNPR. Okay. Among these three stations, MV1 was able to stay semi current on world issues. He was able to learn about and follow NASCAR and Yukon basketball along with a calendar. MV1 stated that he utilized the radio to keep track of time because of those two resources, he was able to keep track of time and the years. Speaking with MV1 and knowing that his formal education concluded in 4th grade, he was able to understand everything we spoke about. Each year, he stated that he was provided approximately 3 to 4 books. MV1 stated that he also had a dictionary. He stated that he would read the books, and each word he came across that he did not know, he would look up in the dictionary. It was determined that MV1 had ultimately educated himself. MV1 discussed how he was never allowed to have friends, noting that the only time he was ever allowed to have fun was Halloween. He remembered that last time he was allowed to go trick-or-treating on Halloween was when he was 12, recalling his last costume being a firefighter. Ooh. And then the firefighters came to save his life. Okay. He stated that his sisters were allowed to have friends, but the friends were never allowed over the house, stating that he was their secret, stating, "I have been kept a secret my entire life." Regarding other potential visitors to the house, MV1 stated that there was hardly anyone who came to the house, and if someone did come, he was told to not make a sound. Again, the threat of food diminishment and longer lockdowns always being a threat if he did not comply. MV1 added that along with Sullivan and his father knowing the situation, his 2 half-sisters and a deceased grandmother knew as well, none of which participated in locking him in the room. They were just aware. When asked about sexual abuse or physical abuse, MV1 stated there was no sexual abuse, and he recalled only one instance that he was abused physically. He stated that around 2005, being home alone, he cut out a piece of wood paneling out of a door that he was locked behind. He stated that he was able to sneak out and make his way to the rest of the house, where he found food and ate it. When Sullivan discovered he had made his way out of the room, she went to him and slapped him in his face. From that point, not only was his door locked, but plywood was secured on both sides of the door so he could not get through the door again. This door was observed in the residence when the search warrants were executed, and there was in fact plywood on each sides of the door. During one of the interviews, MV1 was shown 2 photos of the residence and confirmed which room was his, and confirmed that was the door that secured him into the room. When asked about medical care, MV1 stated that he had not been to the doctor since he was a child. He stated that the only medicine he was ever provided was aspirin. He added that he had never been to a dentist, along with seeing MV1's body being absolutely emaciated. It was clear that MV1 had severe tooth decay and no dental treatment to his mouth. MV1 stated that when he ate, pieces of his teeth would break off. MV1 was asked about the day he set fire to the house. He described it as being a normal day doing chores in the morning, but this day he was allowed out to clean off Sullivan's vehicle. Like every other day, he was given his 2 sandwiches and a snack and was sent back to his room where he was locked in at 7 p.m. that night. He stated that he was let out to try to and replace a bulb on a small Christmas tree. That bitch. So he can go change the bulbs on the tree, but he's not getting any Christmas. He's locked up. Okay. She's despicable. Okay. Oh my God. This is terrible. Okay. He stated that he was let out to try to replace a bulb on a small Christmas tree that was on a breakfast bar. When he could not complete the task, he was sent back to the room and locked in. Around 8 p.m., MV1 hears Sullivan's bedroom door close and he thought, same old, same old. He added that he doesn't remember what time, but did remember making the choice to set the fire, noting that there wasn't a plan to do so earlier in the day. He stated that he also knew that when he set the fire, he would have to let it get to a point where Sullivan would not be able to put it out and that the fire department would have to come. MV1 stated that he set the fire using hand sanitizer, printer paper, and a flame from a lighter. He stated that he got the lighter about a year earlier after his father died. He was also allowed some of his deceased father's clothing, and there happened to be a lighter in an old jacket pocket. When asked how he knew the hand sanitizer was flammable, he stated, I read. Good for him. He stated that he started the fire on the floor by his door and a stack of games. MV1 added that once the fire got going good, he started to stomp and yell for help. MV1 stated that Sullivan yelled to him, asking what he wanted, and told her, fire. When she opened the door, she asked what he did, and he told her the radio had malfunctioned. He stated that at this point, he was out of it and had collapsed at the top of the stairs. He stated that Sullivan made him get up and go to the downstairs bathroom and wash his face, stating that she did not want the fire department to know about his appearance. MV1 remembers that when the fire department arrived, his sister and boyfriend had arrived as well. He stated that he knew this because he could hear Sullivan's yelling to them to get a screwdriver to get the locks off the door. MV1 concluded by stating, the boyfriend should have been out of there. He stated that he stayed on the ground and purposefully did not get up so the fire department would be forced to get him. MV1 believed that this was the only way out of his situation. On 2/8/25, a search and seizure warrant pertaining to all medical records for MV1 at medical facility omitted was applied for and granted. The same day, Detective Bronwell, Detective K. Shea, and Lieutenant M. Torres responded to the medical facility to execute said warrant. All requested records were provided. The following is the chronological record of the staff's medical notes as they cared for MV1 from his admittance on 2/18/25 through the execution of the search warrant. Records show that MV1 was admitted on 2/18 at 2:51 hours due to the threat of respiratory failure. MV1 was intubated. It was documented that the medical facility showed no records on file. This means that Any medical facility that shared the same system as this one showed no history for MV1. An early exam of MV1 described him as cachectic and appears younger than his stated age. Cachectic or cachexia is also referred to wasting syndrome. It has to do with a significant unplanned weight loss and deterioration of muscle mass. This condition is seen in individuals who are suffering chronic disease such as heart disease or advanced cancer. MV1 was described as being near starvation, continuing with early reports and observations from medical staff. It is documented that 21825 that MV1 is severely malnourished with a body index of 11. Speaking with medical staff for MV1, this is about half of what it should be. It was also explained that anything under 16 is considered starvation and anything under 13 is life threatening. It's also noted in this report that refeeding syndrome needs to be avoided. Medical staff at the facility stated that refeeding syndrome is a life threatening condition brought upon by severe malnutrition, whereby introduction of foods and fluids can have fatal consequences due to the fact the body cannot process the intake properly. MV1's body is not equipped to handle or break down the nutrients. This can have a domino effect of electrolyte imbalance, which can lead to heart abnormality, which will lead to heart failure. Records show that once extubated, MV1 begins to speak with staff and immediately provided them with the information about his situation, stating that he has been abused at home and not allowed to leave for several years. Staff noted their concern of a hostage situation. As the medical reports continue, it is noted that MV1 is extremely thin and weighs 31.2 kilograms, approximately 68.7 pounds. He's 5'9". MV1 continued to speak to the staff about his situation, which was consistent with what he had initially stated to officers. MV1 stated that he set the fire because he states, "I wanted my freedom." He stated that he had been locked in his room since he was 11 years old. Staff notes that at this point, MV1 is fully oriented, his thoughts are clear, and he is absent of suicidal ideations. As staff continues to speak with MV1, he talks with a constricted affect about what he missed out over the past 20 years. It's been documented that over the past months, his mood was angry, he was always hungry, and that he has been tossing and turning in his sleep for the past few years. Here, MV1 opens up about his life, stating that he was pulled from school in the 4th grade because his parents were tired of DCF being called on the family because he was always hungry. MV1 explained that he was always asking other students for food, taking other students' food, and eating out of the garbage. When asked, he stated that he doesn't know basic technology. He described spending his days reading and watching cars pass by the windows. Note that at the end of Detective Pesci's interview, Detective Pesci attempted to help MV1 work an iPad, and it was clear that he had no concept of how it worked. Evaluations of MV1 noted that he had decreased ability to use his arms for pushing and pulling, decreased ability for use of legs for bridging and pushing, and an impaired ability to control his trunk for mobility. His muscle tone was abnormal with decreased flexibility and strength. MV1 had decreased endurance and activity tolerance and impaired balance with impaired motor function. He has bilateral knee contractures, a condition which the knee joints become stiff and cannot extend, severe muscle wasting, and severe subcutaneous fat loss is noted in the clavicle and temple. During an assessment for mental health, MV1 tested positive for PTSD and depression. During these assessments, MV1 noted that he was forced to urinate in plastic bottles and would empty, dumping out a window. When he defecated, he would do so on the floor using newspaper. When asked, he could not remember the last time he showered. He noted he was being developmentally delayed at the time of having an adolescent cognitive level. When provided a task to complete, MV1 demonstrated difficulty problem solving, multitasking, and sequencing. He became frequently overwhelmed and needed verbal cues to continue. It is noted that he was unaware how to use a microwave. That during Detective Pesci's interview at 2/21/25, he photographed MV1 in his current condition. See attached appendix for pictures hereby incorporated into this affidavit for reference. They're labeled A, B, C, and D. These photos show MV1's condition on 12/1/25, which demonstrate MV1's malnutrition, frailty, and dental health. On 2/27/25, MV1's uncle, Kurt Sullivan, 9/11/69, responded to the Waterbury Police Department and provided a sworn statement regarding MV1. Kurt stated that he had not seen MV1 since 2004-2005. He remembered going to the address on Christmas Eve a few years in a row until the family pushed him and his wife away. He remembered that MV1 was always skinny, meek, mild-mannered. Kurt recalled trying to ask MV1 questions, but Kimberly interfered. Kurt stated that he attempted to reach out over time, but there was no response. Concerned for MV1, Kurt stated that about 10 years ago, he spoke with a private investigator who suggested going to vital statistics to look for a death certificate. In regards to MV1's condition, Kurt stated that when he visited MV1 in the hospital after the fire, he stated, "I was shocked. He looked like a Holocaust survivor." The detective conducted a WPD in-house database check for MV1, which did not reveal any police interactions within the city since 4/1/2005 to 4/18/2005. Additional law enforcement database inquiries for MV1 did not reveal any records or any results records for MV1. A NCIC collect check. Upon this point of investigation, detectives have been unable to locate any recent school history past 2005, that the reports on file from 4/1/05 to 4/18/05 are reports to the police regarding a well-being of MV1. That was the principal. The principal said he called the police because he was so worried about him. The reports note that DCF had been sent to check on MV1 and that staff at the school had been attending and contacting different agencies to check on MV1. That during the course of the investigation, 2 search and seizure warrants were applied for and granted. One on 2/27/25 and 2/28/25. The first for the arson investigation, the second for the abuse investigation. During the execution of each of these warrants, photos were taken. The Waterbury Police Forensic Department, the room where the fire had started, measured approximately 9 by 8 with an angled ceiling. Photographs of the door to the room, the door jamb were taken. On the door, it appeared that you could see holes from previous locks that were utilized in the past. You could also see the locks that were currently on it were functional and clearly meant to keep someone in, not someone out. You could also see that there were plywood attached to each side of the door, not only to reinforce it, but to prevent any tampering of outer locks. The door jamb and the door were taken as evidence. That based on the facts and circumstances contained herein, the affiant believes that probable cause has been established and respectfully requests that the arrest warrant be issued for Kimberly Sullivan, 32268, charging her with assault in the first degree and violation of CGS 53A 59, kidnapping in the second degree in violation, unlawful restraint and first degree, cruelty to a person, and reckless endangerment in the first degree. Let it be noted that each charge carries a date range of 3/7/96 through 2/17/25 due to the fact that MV1 states that the abuse began at the age of 3 years old until the day MV set the fire. This bitch. Ooh. It reads like a book. I mean, he went through a lot. And I mean, I'm sorry, anybody out here who works for DCF, CPS, any of these agencies, if you are out here and you do a wonderful job, good, because hopefully that type of work ethic is contagious. And it's not to get on all of the workers. It could be policy. It could be all different kinds of things. It could be limits. It could be good liars. It could be a lot of different reasons. But let me tell you, even the family last week, if you saw the white couple who adopted like 5 black kids in West Virginia, baby, this is just crazy. And thank God for the kids in West Virginia. I don't know if you guys have seen that story, but we probably need to talk about it one day this week, just on some what happened. But the parents did, they were convicted. The adoptive parents, the kids were saved, and the neighbors almost immediately started calling authorities on the people because it just seemed weird how they were treating the kids. People noticed and they started saying something. But this woman, I mean, some of the neighbors did see the boy, but they said, so the people interviewed out and about in the neighborhood would say things like, you would see him or you would catch a glimmer and he was gone. You would see him, he would wave, he looked like a little kid, he would wave. Next thing you know, gone. Or I thought I saw somebody up in the window and then I looked back and he was gone. It was always like people saw him in faint glimmers and then he would be gone. So I want to hear from these twins. I want to hear from the boyfriend. I want to know. So her brother said that they used to go over there. He probably noticed something was wrong. She pushed her brother away. I think the best people to talk to are those twins, as soon as mom gets somewhere, because they probably can't talk with mom out on bail. Mom seems crazy. Mom is giving, let's see what she was giving in court again, guys. Sis is fucking bananas. This is what mom is giving in court. Okay? This is what mom gave in court. Like she didn't have a care with her old stank walk. Look, are you guys looking for me? You got to be kidding, sis. You're going to jail for a long time. There is no way she can get away with what she did. There's no way. The brother-in-law, his name was Sullivan. Oh, okay. So the father, okay, his name was Sullivan. Okay. Awful. Awful, awful, awful. Anyway, guys, I feel like, let me see. There's one other story. I don't even have the heart. I can't do it. We're gonna have to let me see. We got Kelli. We got I'll save the other one for tomorrow. We'll have to pick up the mood a little bit with something else, because these people out here are doing way too much. Okay, it's defying disbelief at this point. Like, so much is happening out here in the world. It's like it's almost like unbelievable that this type of stuff is happening. Thank you to Karen. Thank you, Boo Boo, for sending me your member milestone. I appreciate you supporting for so long. Baby, a lot more than we know. It's just like, I hate to sound like leave this on a Lamont, but you do have to stay prayed up. And somehow, some way, MV1, male victim one, of this woman right here who seems to not have a damn care in the world. Somehow he maintained his resilience, his hope, and want to live, his desire to live, his desire. He wanted his freedom. Okay. Girl, old Lamont, stay prayed up. You know what I'm saying? Thank God MV1 maintained his desire for his life and to have his freedom. You know what I mean? So thank God for that, because he said it wasn't even the plan that day to set the room on fire. It just happened. It was, it was basic. It was on some stay ready. Thank God for him. You know what I'm saying? He was on some stay ready. And that moment, he knew it was the right moment, and he lit the fire. He lit the fire. He already knew what he needed to be done. And he got himself out. God bless, because he probably was close to dying. I mean, a grown man living on 2 sandwiches and a bottle of water, maybe 16 ounces, so 32 ounces of water and 2 sandwiches, like just enough. And then he's in probably a clothes closet, because he said it was a 9x8 room, which is a small room, but thank God it had a window. But it was probably one of those rooms with the, that follows the line of the roof. So it was an angled roof. So he probably couldn't stand up straight, but probably at the door. Fran, do you see my comment? Yes. His biological. Do you see my comment? Yeah, I was just talking, so I wasn't reading. His biological mother spoke out. I was gonna get to that. Tracy Valenard. Yes, I did hear about that. I did. We just didn't get to that because I read the affidavit. It was 15 pages, and I feel like I saw a news report about that, and then there were some other friends that were speaking out. So I see your comment. So if I'm talking, I'm not reading, or maybe I'm looking, but you know what I'm saying? So okay. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys have a good evening. You guys might see me back, maybe not. I need to check and see what's going on. If you guys want to see more on this story, we're going to keep up with this story. I'm glad we went through the affidavit, because that's done now. If you guys want it, I'll post it on Patreon. I forgot what else I told you guys I was going to post, but I posted Darnell's warrants. I posted the Sonia stuff earlier this week, if any of you guys are interested in that. As soon as Darnell hits court for Columbus, Ohio, I'll see what I can find. I'm gonna look and see if he ended up going to court. But yeah, we'll revisit the mom. I have some other videos that I tagged for us to look at on this topic. I just didn't want to. It was heavy reading, like, as you can see, right? I read the first couple of pages when I got the report, and I was like, damn. You know what I mean? It was giving damn. But whoever wrote that report, they did their damn thing. They wrote that. They really did. They did a very good job of keeping it like super factual. I mean, all they had to do was write the facts down, because the story is gut wrenching. But you know, we've read police reports before that have been really hard to get through. They're so technical. But the way that report was written, it's like the story just tells itself. Yeah. You're in Columbus. Darnell's still in the hospital. They said he was going to have court today, so maybe they were going to process him through Zoom. I don't know. That's what I heard. News reports said that he was going to be arraigned on a weapons charge in Columbus. So he got a weapons charge because he's a felon with a firearm, and he also, I think he shot at a police officer. So he also was able to rack up a couple charges in Columbus. So of course, that always seals the deal. If you're wanted in one place, then you rack up some charges somewhere else. That just seals the deal that you won't be getting out. You know what I mean? Like you're not getting out. So I guess they're going to process him in Columbus before he goes back to Toledo. We'll keep our eye on that. Karen, do us a favor. Whatever, if you hear anything, if you hear something, say something. Let me know in my comments or on Instagram if you don't mind. That way we can keep up if and when. I would imagine. I mean, gosh, he got shot yesterday, but I mean, shoot, these days, all these miracle drugs they have at the hospital, baby, they'll have him up and out the hospital within a couple of days. He won't be staying long. Depending on, I'm sure, obviously it wasn't a life-threatening situation. They didn't say anything about like hours of surgery or anything like that. It just seems like they probably, these days gunshot wounds aren't what they used to be, unless it's a life-threatening wound. So they'll probably have him up and out by, what's today, Wednesday? Shoot, they might have him getting processed and back to Toledo over the weekend. You know what I mean? They're not going to let him like luxuriate. The minute that he can pee, eat, walk down the hallway, you know how they do at the hospital. As soon as you pee, poop, eat, and you can walk a little bit, baby, you're out the door, okay? Baby, yes. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Absolutely. Okay, guys, let me let y'all go. I need to go get mine. I'll see you later. Make sure to thumbs this up. Make sure to share if you care. Share me out on your social media. Provide some awareness on these stories and help you sis out. I so appreciate that very, very much. If I can come back, I will. And I don't know if I might have some Nesto stuff for you guys later. We'll see what's going on these YouTube streets. So we can get a little laugh or two, because things have been quite heavy this week and we need a little bit of a laugh. Okay. We need something to lighten the mood out here, because baby, the bad news is plenty. Okay. There's plenty of bad news. All right. Anyway, guys, I love you guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. I thank you guys for being here with me today. Again, I will see you guys. I'll try and see you guys a little bit later. Just bear with me, because I already started cooking dinner. So I may end up with some time this evening. Okay. You guys take care. Am I missing something? I'm trying to do. Yes, we need a little Kiki. We need a little Kiki. We will. I'm gonna come bring y'all some Kiki tonight. Don't worry about it. Okay. Don't worry about it. I got you. Okay. Okay, guys. Look, the good news is this is the good news. Sis is gonna have to spend all that coin, whatever her husband left her behind, baby, she's spending it on bail and bonds. And thank God, MV1 made it, and he is here to tell his story. He got his freedom. So it's some good news, right? In all of the bad news, there's some good news. This one, her kids are okay. They're alive. They made it. You know what I mean? So there have been some awful situations, but the good news is these kids are getting a chance to live. Okay. So that's actually the good news in all of it. So now they're being held to account. And so we just have to keep, that in all of the bad news, and unfortunately those that did not make it, there are some that did make it. Okay. All right, guys. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I took myself out for a second. Okay. All right, guys. You guys have a good evening. I will see you guys a little bit later. Okay. Bye, guys.